Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another long-awaited GitBook webinar. It's been a while since we've done one, but we've got a ton of amazing improvements to customization, which we're going to demo for you all today that we're super excited to show off. Feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. Why don't you let everyone know where you're dialing in from, and we can start with some introductions in just a sec. But we'll give it about another minute for a few more people to roll in. Just setting some things up on my side as well. Awesome, we have people calling in from all over the world. Yeah, let's dive right in. We've got a lot to cover, so we can start with some quick introductions. So hello again, everyone. My name's Addison. You may have seen me on some webinars before. I run our developer relations team here at GitBook, and really excited to show you all of the customization updates that we've been making over the last few months, many of which you are now live and you've probably started to use yourself. But I'm joined by my colleague, Zeno. Yeah, Zeno, why don't you give everyone a quick introduction?
Yep. Hi, everyone. I'm Zeno. I'm a design engineer and product designer here at GitBook. I started built over half a year ago at GitBook, and yeah, I started as a product designer, and I got more and more into code, and especially this customization project has been my big dive, sort of back into code from where I started as a web designer way back when. So yeah, very excited to tell a little bit more about it today.
Yeah, and hopefully everyone here has seen a lot of these improvements. Like I said, a lot of the stuff we're going to be demoing today is already live. And I don't know about you, Zeno, but I personally think that all of these improvements have made even our own docs look 100 times better. So really excited to dive in to show everyone what's new. A quick agenda for everyone on the call. We are going to start with Zeno going through a little bit of the how and the why that we did a lot of these customization updates. He actually recently wrote a blog post. It's also now live on our blog, gitbook.com/blog, if you want to read a little bit more in depth about it after this webinar. But we're going to start by going through that. Then we're going to dive into a demo. I'll take us all through pretty much all the stuff that Zeno is going to talk about and show you how to set it up live. And we'll take a look at a real site and see how these changes affect something that's actually live. And then we'll talk a little bit about what's coming next at GitBook. And of course, we'll have a section for some Q&A at the end. So feel free throughout the webinar to leave some comments, leave some questions, anything goes, and we'll do our best to get back to you either on the webinar or after. So we'll have some time at the end to go through everything. But without further ado, Zeno, the floor is yours. Feel free to take us through what you've been working on.
Cool. Yeah, thank you very much. So yes, customization, big topic here at GitBook internally. We've been very focused on it over the past few months, and I think there's good reason for that. So let's dive right in. Why does this matter? Why does this matter to anyone? Why does it matter to us internally? Well, as you probably know, when you use GitBook, we think that docs are a very important part of your product story. They are an extension of your product. So great docs really make your product shine. And that means that since they are an extension of your product and your brand, and they're one of the first touch points in your user's journey along with your marketing site, most likely, it's very important for us as GitBook to offer every customer we have with very extensive, but also very easy to set up customization options. Because the sites that you can publish with GitBook are designed to be very blank canvases. So we're trying to let you speak in your product's voice instead of in GitBook's. The amount of options needs to be big, and of course it needs to be easy to get started with it. So even the sort of blank state needs to be good. At the same time, though, great docs also build trust and clarity if they're set up well. And the user expectation is quite high, right? So users expect your docs to match the quality of your product, both visually but also functionally. So that means that the visual identity needs to match. Every single option needs to work together with every other single option. So it needs to be cohesive, but also very importantly, it needs to be accessible to everyone. And that means that the contrast needs to be high enough to read for everyone. But it also maybe means that it needs to be parsable programmatically by screen readers or by AIs, that we need to have a markdown version of your docs available. So there is a ton of different things that sort of come with having good docs, and customization is both how it looks, but also how it works a little bit. So how did we build this new customization system? Basically, I started by benchmarking different doc sites and sites from all over the internet, and I tried to identify common components that they used, both sort of sidebar, header, footer type stuff, but also how do they look? So does the sidebar have a background? What's the text layout like? Is it laid out in a full layout width, or is it constrained in a certain way? And with a ton of these different sites under my belt, I started basically designing this in a GitBook way and grouped them into little style buckets. So different vibes of a site, if you will. And from there, I arrived at a bunch of different themes that set the creative direction, and a bunch of component styles that act as design modifiers on top. So I'm gonna walk you through those different layers now, side by side. So to start with, we have 4 new themes in the new customization system. They are an evolution of the header presets. So if you've used GitBook before, they are a little bit like the header presets, but what's in the name? The header presets apply to the header, and these themes now affect the entire site in different ways. And there's 4 of them. The first one is clean. That's the default. It's a very nice, minimal, modern look. Then there's muted, which is a bit more of a subtle style. It has a slightly muted background. Elements are a little bit set against it. Bold is for very strong colors. It's sort of defined by the colored header that you see there, but also other elements on the page are a little bit more colorful. And then the very new theme that wasn't available as a header preset is gradient, which adds a subtle gradient to both the background, but also, for example, to the icons in the sidebar. So everything has a little bit of a gradient color. Now, on top of that, on top of these themes that you can choose, which already sort of set a direction, we also have a bunch of actually important to mention here, I forgot to mention this. So the thing about themes is that not only do they, as I said, affect certain elements, but different components can also render in different ways. So for example, here between clean and muted, you see that the sidebar, which has the same style, is actually rendered differently because it looks better inverted on muted, and it looks better not inverted on clean. So we sort of take this theme that you choose and then sort of use that creative direction to style individual components in a way that makes sense for each theme. Yes, and that sort of gets us nicely to styles. So these styles are basically ways that you can influence individual parts of the site a little bit more beyond the theme. I already mentioned the background sidebar styles. On the left there, you can see both the default one without the background and then the filled one, which we introduced with the background. But you can also choose the way that different lists, like the sidebar list, are displayed. So either have a background or not a background, a line or not a line. You can choose the way links look nowadays, not just the default coloring, but maybe you want only an underline color to have a little bit more of an accent style. But even things like the new hint styles that we recently dropped are also examples of sort of additional styles that you can choose. And whereas the previous few options were all set in the customization screen, these hint styles are set block by block because they're contextually chosen. So you can basically make these new styles just by adding a heading to a hint block, and it will automatically get this new style wherever you do so. So yeah, there's a bunch of different new things that you can do on a component level that work well with these different themes because they are sort of influenced by each other. So whenever you pick something, it works on top of either the background or, for example, it changes around. Then the last addition to this whole system, and I think this is basically where I spend most of my time actually, is in the tokens department. So you have themes that set the direction, styles that work on top of it, and then there is sort of the infinite possibilities of the tokens that the site uses. It's a design term. It basically means the fonts, the colors, the corner radius, the amount of margin, all that sort of stuff is what we call a design token. And some of the most important ones, like fonts and colors, you can, of course, set on your site, and they influence the site a whole lot. They're also some of the things that we care the most about because we want our brand color in there properly. We would like our brand font in there, etc. So in designing this, there was a lot of consideration both for the amount of freedom that you should have as a customer, but at the same time, we want to make it look good all the time, and we want to make it accessible all the time. So even though you want bright red to be your brand color, and it should be, you still need to be able to read it on a white background, right? Or you need to be able to set it on dark mode and light mode. So that posed a little bit of an interesting challenge. To start with, on the font side, you can now upload custom fonts on the Ultimate site plan, which will let you to really will allow you to really make it your own. And that creative direction, we can't really sort of from a system level, we can't really do much there, but we can help you make the right decisions. So one of the examples here is if you upload a custom font, you can choose whatever font you want. We're not going to hold your hand there, but we do advise you to upload a bold and a regular style of it, for example, so that if you have at least two font styles, font weights rather, we can at least sort of style things nicely on the front end because we use 2 to 3 different weights on the front end to make things look good. And then on the color side, as you can see, like we generate based on the color that you input, we generate a bunch of different palettes, and thanks to a whole lot of color theory, which I will not dive into. It's on my blog. It's on the blog if you want to read more about it. We basically generate a scale of whatever color you put in that is has the same predefined perceptual lightness for every single value in the scale. And every single step of the scale has a very specific purpose that it's supposed to cover. So, for example, tint number 1 that you can see here is actually supposed to always be used as the background, whereas tint number 9, for example, is always used as button backgrounds and sort of for accent elements. And so that tint number 9 can be very, very strong. It can be a strong color, whereas number 1 is always supposed to be very muted. And no matter what color you put in, thanks to some functions that we wrote, this sort of contrast level will always be the same between these different colors. So that means that no matter which color you put in, it will always be readable with the right contrast amount according to the WCAG to match basically that. So we do this for a bunch of different scales. There is, as I already mentioned, the tint color, which is a newly introduced concept that basically lets you choose the main sort of modifier on the site. So by default, everything on the site is themed with the tint color, but the tint color is set to a neutral gray. But if you want to, you can now override that color. So if you want to make everything this slightly orange or slightly purple, you can add purple to be your tint color, and it will become sort of the overarching main color base on the whole site. Now, on top of that, we already had the primary color. We still use the primary color primarily for navigational elements, basically. So buttons and links and stuff, and anything that's sort of branded with your primary brand color. And together with the tint color, you can basically have these two-tone designs I'll show you a little bit more about in a second. And also new are these semantic color scales that are basically used in places where you need to communicate a status with the color. So for example, you have these different hint blocks. They have different colors. You can have them info, success, warning, or danger, depending on what you're trying to communicate to your users. And these will now take these colors that you can set in the customization settings yourself to basically match maybe your brand palette or a semantic that you're trying to convey. So that's very quickly what we've been working on. These are the different parts of the system, if you will. If you have any questions, please put it in the chat and I'll try to answer it in a little bit as well. But I think the interesting part is what people have been doing with it themselves. So I want to walk you guys through just a little example of some of the sites that have been produced with this new system. So, as an example, I grouped them at the top here. These are the clean themes. I'll go through the different themes. Basically, we have a few of every theme. So to start, this is the clean theme. You can see like it's very sort of minimal, but it has this nice slight translucency on the header. That's sort of one of the defining traits of the clean theme. And this is the one that you get by default. So Make has done a really good job of using their primary color here, their purple, and you can sort of see it seep through for example, in their API reference, where even the code blocks are colored a little bit with the right with their make purple. Another example that I really like is like Onum, which also has this really nice sort of simple purpley primary color that bleeds through in both links, but also in even these. If I hover over this, I don't know if you can see this exactly, but it's like slightly purple under my mouse right here. Very good example of the clean theme working even in a customized way, because you could maybe think that clean is a little bit default looking. Well, NVIDIA Run AI like took this and ran with it. So they had they are one of the first sites that uses the new custom fonts. So they use their NVIDIA Sans font in here, and together with their NVIDIA Green, and even for example, they use the new link accent style that uses the slightly more muted link underline. Together, it makes for a very sort of branded documentation setup that is basically based on the clean theme, but with quite some modifications. It looks very NVIDIA, which is nice. Another example is Bucket. Bucket is an interesting one, not only because they have very nice clean docs, but actually because, for example, when you go to their dark mode, they have a blacker than black dark background that they asked how to do. And we made a quick modification so that if you now upload a very dark color as the tint color, we will respect that and not color the background any gray. It will just be exactly that black. So they wanted the blackest of blacks as their background to match their brand. And so you can do that now. A nice example, I guess, of where feedback also really helps us to make these quick little tweaks. Then on the muted side, so you can see immediately there's a little bit of just a more sort of accent between the white cards or white code blocks, for example, and the background. So this is a little bit more classy is how I would describe it, especially if you could choose a serif font on this. And it works very well. It's just a nice muted version. CAF really worked nicely with this. They have a custom header set up here, together with custom semantic colors for their different hint blocks. And you can see how even just a landing page like this just really becomes a nice branded experience, together with a filled background sidebar here. And then another example is NDI, which also sort of, again, takes this approach and runs with it. Especially these cards look really good on muted for their white background. Sort of it pops on the muted background. And this muted background will come from either your primary color, or if you have set it your custom tint color, which you can basically play around with in the customizer. Then on the bold side, as I said, the main differentiating factor with bold is that the header gets colored according to your tint color. So this is a nice two-tone example where you see the tint color is a brown, so everything is colored slightly brown. Every hover I do here is this a slightly sort of darkish brown gray, and the header takes that dark gray and uses it as a fill color. But at the same time, their primary color is this really nice vibrant orange, and so wherever we can, we do use a little bit of it in our navigational elements. And then they also have these custom semantic colors. So they set their info color to not be a gray, but a very nice sort of bluish, grayish color. That works well. Same sort of story here. This is a tint color to be very dark gray, so that it sort of keeps the rest of the site neutral, but colors the header nicely. And then there's a very clear sort of primary color to help distinguish. Jonas does a similar thing where they actually have a very light primary color, and then their tint color is dark blue that colors both the header, but also all the background, for example, is slightly dark blue because of it. And here you can see that even though you input a very dark color and it can be used as a dark color on the header, it makes the background a very light color because of the palette always being a nice light version, so that the contrast works out. Wrapping up, a few gradient examples. This is the newest theme we have. The GitBook documentation is a good example of it itself. You've probably seen this if you've checked the product out. Has this nice gradient from blue to white. For a different approach, ZenML does this really nicely as well. You can see it sort of in their branding on the cards as well. But they have this this purple tint color that goes from here all the way down to the bottom left. And you can even see that the icons here go from a dark purple all the way to a light purple at the top. It's very nice. And then to wrap up, this is the last one of a green example of Gaia here to sort of start from there and then go to there. And you can actually see that even the sidebar here starts from a very light, sort of light contrast to a stronger contrast at the bottom. So all in all, tons of different options, tons of examples, and I would really urge everyone to sort of play around with this in the customizer a little bit. If there's anything that you can't do, let us know, because we'll most likely be interested in adding it, something like that. So yeah, that's a high level overview, and I think Addison will walk us through how to do this exactly.
Yes, thank you so much. That's an awesome deep dive. And I definitely would recommend to check out the blog post that Zeno wrote. He dives in a little bit even deeper than what he was showcasing here, dives into some of the more technical bits as well, if you're interested in reading about how we actually coded this up in the product. And it's a really good read. Answering a few questions as well before we hop into the demo, because yeah, we're going to demo all of the things that Zeno just showed off and see how we can basically apply that to a live site and what that will look like. This session will be recorded. I saw this asked a few times in the chat, so we'll make sure we send out the recording as well. And if you want to read that blog, I posted it in the chat as well, but you can always read our latest blog posts at gitbook.com/blogs. But let's hop into a demo and show you how to do all this right off the bat. I have also Zeno still here in the call and my other teammate John. So if you have any questions, they'll be in the chat. Feel free to ask any questions, and we'll hop right into it. Let me go ahead and share my screen, and let's get into it. All right. So if you've been on a GitBook webinar in the past before, you've probably seen this organization. This is Jetstream, a fictional product that we use for webinars here at GitBook. And I've prepared a little bit like a tiny demo site for us to work on top of for the Jetstream documentation. And as you can see, it is pretty bland right now, and we're going to change all of that throughout the rest of this webinar using all of these different features and customizations that Zeno was talking about. So to start, and just a quick lay of the land, this is the GitBook editor, and this is the published site that we're working in here. I can access all of these settings from the doc sites overview here. So you can always find this in the sidebar under doc sites, or you can find it in the sidebar underneath the docs sites header. Again, Jetstream is the one that I'm working on. This is going to be your dashboard. This is where you're going to set up whatever you need setting-wise and customization-wise. You'll also see a new insights section here that we launched a few months ago. I'm going to dive into that a little bit later because the main thing that we're going to be focusing on is the customization. And if we head to this tab, we'll be able to see a preview of the docs and all of the different settings that we can change with this. And basically what we're going to do is customize this and see how it looks. So take a quick pic of what this looks like here. And yeah, you can follow along live. I don't know if Zeno or John, you want to share this URL with the chat so they can hop on and see all these changes happening live. So I'll just take us through all these different settings. The first thing that we're going to do is customize some of the basics of this, and that's going to start with the title, the icon, and a custom logo. The first thing that we can do is add a title or icon. What this does is it will replace this little P icon that we have here, but it's also going to be used as the favicon in any browser when you load this. You can use an emoji, or you can upload a custom image, and that's what we're going to do right off the bat. So I have just a little rocket for the Jetstream one that we're using. We can also give it a title, and this will be the title that appears next to this icon up here. So by default, it's going to be named whatever you have set in the documentation site. I'm going to set this as Jetstream documentation. And the reason that I'm setting this to exactly what it was before is because this is also going to be the text that's used next to the favicon in any browser at the top in the title. What you can do after that is add a custom logo, which will then in turn replace both this icon and the text that you see here, but it's going to keep those settings for, again, the favicon in the browser and also the title in the browser. So what we can do then is add something like this. And that is going to replace it with a nice logo up here. But again, these settings are still going to be kept for the top instead. Then what we can do is add a light version as well. So I prepared one. Let me find it. I think it's this one. So in dark mode, if you have the option to toggle between light and dark mode, you can change that here. So you can use different logos for the two. I'll continuously be saving these customization settings as well throughout. So again, if you're following along, you should see this happening live. It might take just a second because I just saved. So I'm just going to add like a quick query parameter to the end so we can see these changes live as well. Just a quick note as well, the title that you see up top, so you see where it says Jetstream documentation at the end, that's from what I had set in the settings, but the first part of it is going to be whatever page you're on. So it says welcome to Jetstream, and then whatever page will change alongside that. So just a quick heads up there. The next thing that we can do is start to add a theme. As Zeno mentioned, we have 4 different themes that you can choose from: clean, muted, bold, and gradient. And I think it's really important to play around with these because depending on your brand, one of these might make a little bit more sense or be a little bit more easy to combine with the brand that you have on your website or other marketing materials overall. Because this is a fictional one, we can go ahead and choose whatever we'd like. But overall, I have really been liking the gradient theme that we've launched recently. It's the one that we use on our own GitBook documentation as well. And I think this one looks super slick, super clean, and it's really easy to make your docs look beautiful right out of the dot. You can actually already see, I think this looks a ton better just by adding the gradient from what it looked like before. The next thing we can do is also then add a primary color. I haven't chosen one right off the bat. Maybe go ahead and leave me a comment on what you would like to see, but I think I'm just going to pick a random one from this website here. I'll pick a little bit more of a bold color. I think that might look a little bit nicer. Going for like a kind of a blue maybe. So let's try this one. Let me go ahead. Oh, 1 second. Cool. I think that looks pretty nice. You'll see these colors start to be applied a little bit more as we start to add more things across the site. So like hint blocks, icons, site sections, announcement banners, etc. So just a heads up that that's where this color will be applied. We also go ahead and generate some options and some recommendations for the tint color as well if you want something a little bit more subtle or bold. But I'm going to leave this one off right now just because I think it looks okay for now. As mentioned before as well, we generate semantic colors as well, and these are going to be used for things like the hint block. So if you have like an info, a success, warning, or danger hint block, these are the colors that will be used to render this. We might come back and visit this. I want to add a few more elements to the page and see how this looks before we go ahead and edit those, but just so you know, this is where you're going to add all of this here. Let's save this too. Moving on, there's a lot more that we can go ahead and customize from like the styles as well. So if we want to add an option for users to toggle between dark, light, and system mode, we can go ahead and do that here as well. And you'll see that this will be positioned in the lower right-hand corner. And let's take a look what that looks like as we have this live. So let's just make sure that these changes are submitted. Again, sometimes it will take a second. So right now it's light mode, but we can also change it to dark mode, and you can see even this tint comes through on the dark mode, which I think looks really, really sharp. And then you can also see the Jetstream logo has changed in the upper left as well. Okay, I also noticed that in the dark mode, we didn't change that color either. So let me go ahead and do that because it's still using the old one, but no worries. Easy change. And again, we can change that to something else if we want, but I'm going to keep it just consistent for now. And the next things that we can edit and update across the site is going to be more of the broader styles that are used in all of the text and the other elements there. So we have like font family, the icons, corner style, and the link style as well. Let's dive into this. By default, we have a lot of different fonts that you can go ahead and use. But we just released the custom font feature as well. So obviously, if you have your own brand and you have your own font, it's super easy to go ahead and add a custom font as well. So I have one. It's called TT Interfaces. Let me just go ahead and add this. And I'll have to upload a regular font. And you'll notice that if you don't upload a bold font, it will ask you to upload one as well. So I've got that prepared here. And we can go ahead and add those to the site. Might take a second for everything to load and render, but you'll already see that live here. And let's keep editing a few more things as well. I think the duotone icons have also been looking pretty sharp, especially with the gradient as well. But you obviously can change and use whichever ones you want. If you want a solid, duotone, light, thin, or regular icon, you can choose that. All of these icons are set from Font Awesome. I'll show you where you can find them and add them across your site right after this. But if you go to Font Awesome, you can also see a list. Well, you can search right in the GitBook editor, but you can go ahead and see a list of all the different icons that you can use. And these are baked right into the product. So you don't necessarily have to come here, but you can search through 53,000 different icons. So tons of different options here. Corner style, rounded and straight. I think we'll leave rounded for this one. And the link style, we can either do default or accent. And the accent one has been looking also really, really sharp. So I'm going to go ahead and choose that one. Save some of these changes so we can see this live in just a sec. And last but not least, we can edit some of these sidebar styles as well. The filled one has been looking really cool in a lot of sites that I've seen recently. You can obviously leave it default if you want as well. And then you can change this to be just highlighted or a pill. What I see a lot of teams doing is have a combination of either the filled and the default, or either the default and the pill, which I also think looks pretty sharp too. For this, I'll go with the filled and the default. Give it a little bit, let it stand out a little bit more as it goes through. Obviously, the line is also a nice option as well. As you can see this going down on the side here, but let's leave it at default for now. Okay, save that. And if we reload this, again, I just saved it, so it might take just a few seconds for this to all come, but here we go. We have our custom font rendered. We have the gradient, we have dark, we have the colors that we're using, the icons, and the sidebar styles as well. We also have link styles added across here, which this is just a demo site. So I forget if I actually added any links in here. It doesn't look like it, but I'll add some in just a bit, and we can take a look at that in just a sec. Okay, let's see though if there's any questions inside of here. I don't know, Zeno, anything that I can answer live or?
No, I think most of it was. Yeah, maybe one question about the title and icon versus custom logos. What the difference between those two is.
Yeah, I can go back and touch on this very quickly. So I briefly touched on this, but basically the title and the icon that you see up here in the site customization, this is going to be used by default in the upper left-hand corner of your site if you don't have a custom logo set. It's also going to be used as the favicon. So you can see up here in my browser, you can see the icon that's used here. And you'll also see if we hover over this, it will say Jetstream documentation just at the end there. Those are both set from here. And again, they're used in the upper left if you don't have a custom logo set. But if you do have a custom logo set, this will be the default one, and this will override those settings, but it won't override those settings for the favicon or the title up at the top. That's why we have the custom logo here, but we still have the favicon up at the top.
Yep, nice. There's
cool.
Another question about the buttons in the header. So a question about site sections, basically. I don't know if it's the scope of this, but it's basically set through sections in your site structure.
Yeah,
we don't have any sections here.
Cool. We're going to get to that though. So we're going to keep building on this. And we got a lot more to cover. So this is just going to be most of the basic styles that you'll see applied through the rest of the content and the structure that we set. And that's the next thing that we're going to go ahead and do is add a little bit of structure to the site. So let's head to layout next. We've also shipped a lot of new features here recently as well. One of the new things that we've also, or something that's a little bit more new that we have, is the ability to toggle the header on or off. So that will completely remove the logo, the links, and also the search bar from the top if you have them. It will also move the search bar to the table of contents in the left-hand side if you have it. So just a heads up if you don't want to have that, but it will keep the search bar there. But we've also just released a new feature that allows you to make your search bar prominent. So I'll put it front and center right at the top of your site. Gives it a little bit more urgency and kind of spotlight for anyone who wants to use it and find something within your docs. Obviously, GitBook AI is also booked into all of this. So whenever you ask or search, it'll all be contained outside of here. But in addition to that, we also have a way to add a bunch of links to your site as well. And there's a lot of different things that you can do here. So what we'll first need to do is add a link, and we can give it a title. And the first one that I want to do is an action called sign up. I'm also going to go ahead and just use GitBook for most of these links here. Also, heads up, we've just released a brand new website and homepage, so make sure you check that out after this webinar if you haven't seen it already. But after you add a link inside of here, you can choose how it's going to be styled. So we have a link style, a primary button, or a secondary button. And we want our sign up to be our primary action. So I'm going to add it as a primary button here. And you'll see that that's added up in the upper right-hand corner. We can also add another one. Let's do something like log in. And let's do that as a secondary action here. And let's do one more. It says something like resources. And again, I'm just using the same link for all of this, but you can obviously choose whatever you'd like. But what's cool about this is you can also reorganize them. So I want the sign up to be in the upper right, and I want resources to be the farthest to the left. But what you can also do is add sublinks as well. So we can do something like homepage. We can also add something like blog. And we can also do something like support. And as we add more of these inside, you'll see that those will be added under a dropdown. It's a little bit hard to see in just this preview window here, but if you're following along and checking it out in this project, let me see, you'll see that those are now added inside like this, and we have the sign up and the login button in the upper right-hand corner. So very, very, very cool. But in addition to a header, what you're also able to add is a footer. So this also supports a few different things and a few different customization options. The first one is another logo. So let me go ahead and add this as well. I'm just going to go ahead and use the small logo that we have. You can obviously use the big one or whatever one you want down there. But we'll also add a dark mode icon as well. You can also add copyright text if you want, but another important one is you can add footer links. And I'm also going to copy something very similar to the top. you can add as many different sections and links as you want down here, but we'll create a resources section or group, and we'll do something like homepage. We'll add maybe blog and support. But just to see what it looks like with another section, let's do something like company. We'll do about and careers. Now if we save this here, we'll see these now added at the bottom. So we have our logo down here, we have resources, and we actually see the link styles coming through down here as well. So you see it's like a little underline, which is what we set before. Also something to point out too, we have the icons that are using the duotone icons over here along with the PDF icon too. So it's already looking a lot better than it had originally looked at the beginning, which is good, but there's a ton more that we can do to make this a lot more interactive and a lot more customizable. The last thing that we can do as well is configure different kind of configuration options, I guess, for the site. So you can localize the user interface. We support a couple different languages, and this is going to customize the UI of GitBook. So just a note, this isn't going to customize the language of your own content, but it will customize things like the ask or search that you see inside of there, or the powered by GitBook, or the last updated. Basically all of the things that are rendered by GitBook, you can change the language between a few different languages inside of here. We'll keep that as English. If you are using Git Sync, you can enable the edit on GitHub or GitLab button, and this will allow it to show here. It'll only show up if you do have it set up with Git Sync. So if you're not seeing it, make sure you have that configured correctly, otherwise it won't appear. And you can also add a privacy policy URL here too. One other thing that I kind of skipped over, I was going to add this later, but we are here now, so I'm going to go ahead and add it right away. We can add an announcement banner, which is going to show at the very top. This is also a new improvement that we just shipped, and I think this is really, really cool. So let's add a message. Let's say sign up for Git, or docs could look this good. And the link will be GitBook, and the call to action will be like sign up. You can also choose the different style, so info, warning, danger, or success. But I think we're going to keep it just as this. And now that we have a hint option inside of here as well, I do want to demo one last thing as well, and that is using the primary color or a color for the semantic colors, because the color that's used up here is derived from this info semantic color, and we could change it to something like this, and you'll see that this matches the theme just a little bit more, which I think looks really, really sharp. So I'm going to go ahead and save it there. The banners are closable as well, just a heads up. If the cache is cleared, it will reappear, but it is a very nice way to display a little bit of extra information across your site. Let's keep moving on, because there is a few more things that I want to demo in terms of the structure and what we have going inside of here. So a big thing that we have right now in our Jetstream documentation, if we head to our settings, is we only have one section. And when we're looking at this, we don't see any way to change sections because, well, we only have one section, which is this. But you might have even seen it in our own docs. If we head to docs.gitbook.com, we have a couple different sections here at the top with icons and everything. And we can add these through what's called site sections. And this is really important and a really, really great way to structure your information. And in order to do that, you'll set that up through the structure section in your settings. And again, we only have the one added here. But I have another space called developer docs, and I want to add more information to here, and I want to add this as a section. So the first thing I'm going to do is head to Jetstream settings, And let's go to structure, add a new section, and I'll add the developer docs inside of here. From here, we can edit a lot of different things. So the original one that we have, this will appear as Jetstream documentation up here, but I probably want to rename this to something like docs or even like just Jetstream. And then we can add like an icon. Let's do like a rocket like that. We can add a description, but this is only if it's within group sections, and I'll show you that in just a sec as well. Just rename this to Jetstream. So we have this. And the developer docs, let's do something like this. And let's do developers at the end. And now that we have that set up, if we refresh this, might take a sec again, but you'll see that we have the Jetstream section here, and now we have the developer docs, which is a completely different space of content that is kind of walled off, and you can edit this one separately, but they're all linked together. They're both published, and they're all linked together here. I want to quickly demo a new feature. It's not super related to customization, but I think it's pretty cool and makes a lot of sense for this. But if we take a look at the developer docs, we don't have really any information inside of here. And I want to fill this out a little bit more. So something that we've recently also released is support for a lot better support for Open API. So if you are documenting APIs at all or work with API documentation, this is going to be super, super useful for you, especially if you use an Open API spec, which is what I'm going to demo off right now. So what you'll want to do to document your API first is head to the Open API section in the upper left corner and add your specification. We'll call this Jetstream API. That's okay. We can link it to a URL if this is hosted, and anytime the URL is updated, your docs will update. But I don't have anything hosted right now, so I just want to show you what happens if we upload a file instead. We also have a CLI tool if you want to set up something for CI/CD and publish and update your specification in GitBook from like a CI tool. After we upload it, you can quickly just read through it here. This is one that I created right before this webinar for demo. And we can add this specification to GitBook. It'll take just a few seconds or a minute to process. But the coolest part about all of this is once you upload your Open API spec, GitBook allows you to automatically generate your API documentation. You won't even have to organize or really do anything here. So if we head to, after we upload the API spec, we can head to developer docs. We've edited this already, so let's open up a new change request. Always good to describe your changes. Say add API reference. We can add a new page, but you'll also see a new section that says Open API reference, which we can select our API from. We can choose model reference page if we want. I'm going to toggle that off for now so we only see our endpoints. And after we add it, you'll see that we now have our endpoints here. We aren't able to directly edit these pages as these are automatically generated, but you have a lot of control over what you want to display. If you want to display custom code samples, the different responses and items and parameters that you see here, page descriptions, page titles, icons, and the organization itself of all of this. I'm not going to dive into that just yet in this webinar, but I did also write a blog post about that, or more so a guide. So if you head to our docs in our guides section, you'll find it right at the bottom on documenting your API. We also have all of our documentation inside of here. So make sure you head to that if you're interested in learning more and setting that up for yourself. But I just wanted to demo and show you how you can automatically generate an API reference without having to code or add anything here. And after, oops, 1 second. I think I locked my screen, so I need to share my screen again. So after we have that added and we merge that change request, if we head back to the docs and we refresh this, hopefully it's added already. And we can head to our developer docs. All of the customization that we set with the icon themes and the colors is all loaded up inside of here. And we see all of our API endpoints. And the cool part, this has been around in our docs for a little bit. You can test your APIs right from the sidebar here. So feel free to play around with this. You can add different query parameters and send test requests right from your docs itself. Again, if you want to customize any of this, it is possible. It's read from the Open API spec. Just make sure you head to our documentation to learn more about setting all of that up. Okay, let's take a quick pause and see if there's any additional questions here. Because I know we have about 10 minutes left, so want to see if there's any extra stuff that we can answer live. Also, I'm curious if anyone here is using the Open API feature already. Let us know how it's been working for you. Would love to know. Okay.
We got some people happy with the search bar increase, the size increase I saw before. One generic question about how to stay up to date about these types of updates. Addison, maybe you can share where to go to changelog, for example.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would definitely make sure to visit our changelog, as Zeno mentioned as well. Let me show you exactly where. So our changelog here is a great way to see everything that we released. We actually are releasing another one this week, I think. So it's been a couple weeks filled with a lot of improvements that we'll be announcing here. Heading to our blog as well is a great way to read a little bit more in depth on how we did things. So as mentioned, Zeno has written an awesome one on everything that we're covering today, some of the in-depth technical bits as well. We also just released another one last week on the editor focus, so like updating tables, cards, which also we might do another webinar in the near future on, so make sure you check that one out too. And last but not least, heading to our community as well on GitHub. We post a lot of stuff and updates inside of here. So this is another great way to stay up to date. And also our guide section, I would say like the changelog, the blog, and our community is a great way to stay up to date with what we've been launching. But we always release a lot of guides as well on a lot of the things that we're building on how to use it a little bit more in depth. So that's another great place to head and check out if you want to find some, step-by-step guides on setting all this stuff up yourself. Oh, and last but not least, obviously our documentation, we keep this very, very up to date. So if you're looking for something, it should already be inside of here, documented, ready for you to use. There is, I think, 2 more things that I wanted to just demo since we have a few minutes left.
And maybe one good question coming from the chat was if you're able to customize colors of each section of the site independently. I know that you've worked on this before.
Oh yeah, awesome. That is a great question. Yes, it is very possible to update the colors or the design for the different sections that you have here. So if you're working on different products that have different branding, etc., you can do that right from the customization setting. You'll only see this if you have more than one site section added inside of here. So we didn't see this at the beginning. But now you'll see that we have this new toggle drop down that lets you individually change the developer docs section or the Jetstream docs section with its own colors. Yeah, pretty much any style that you want to set here. So if you want it to be completely different, you can go ahead and do that here. Or if you want it to just inherit the site-wide settings, you can also just keep everything inside of here. One other thing, though, that I wanted to show off very quickly, which is another cool feature that I didn't necessarily demo, was adding a new section group, basically. So I will just do this very quickly. And this section group can be called, let's add a book, and let's call this resources. You will also have to add the different sections to a group. So let me just add like the developer docs and Jetstream, because those are the only ones that we have inside of here already. And you'll have to reorganize this in general, but actually let's see if this does what I am wanting it to do. Otherwise I might have to add. This might not
Yeah,
work.
it might only work with 2 groups at least, or at least more than one.
Let me add one more inside of here. But what you'll see, we'll give this another sec to just going to play around with this a little bit as this. We'll add this one to the group. I'll move this back because I want to share this afterwards so you can all see this. Also, if you want to toggle on any features, you can find all of this inside of here as well. Sometimes the sections will take just a little bit, but basically what you see here, and this is a little outdated because it still needs to re-render, but you can also add different sections to a dropdown as well. And one thing that will also be used inside of here is if you set a description on the section as well. So if we head to the edit button here and we add a description, those will be used inside of the description in the dropdown in the site sections as well. So there's a lot of different ways that you can customize your site and build whatever structure that you want for the different pages and the different things that you're working on here. Last but not least, I don't have time to demo this fully, but I do want to point this out because this is also another very important part for designing and customizing your site as well. There are, in addition to the styles and the customization of your entire site that you might want or have, you can also update the layout and the design of certain pages as well. This is something that I've been asked quite a lot before in the past, but if you want to update the design of a page, you can do so from the actual page itself. So what I'm going to do is head to the developer docs. Because when I head to the developer docs section here, you'll see that I have like the sidebar and I have these things on the side. But a very common thing that you might want to do is update that so it looks more like a landing page, or it might read a little bit different. And you can also edit a lot of the customization settings from the page settings itself. So you'll do this from the space or the page that you're working on specifically. And there's a few different ways to edit this. You can do it from the sidebar. If you head to page options, you can do it at the top under page options or in the top right under options here. But you'll see a couple different presets that we have here. So docs, editorial, landing, or custom. And these are just presets for toggling these different items here on the right. Like for instance, a very common one would be landing, where we don't have any of the sidebars on the left or right, but we still have the page title and description. And then you can also toggle on the footer for the previous next page. I'm going to keep this as the docs because as API reference goes, we probably want to see the different endpoints right off the bat. But just a heads up, if you are curious about where you can go to edit any of those things and change them in your own site. All right, and I know we are kind of wrapping up at the end of time here. Hopefully this was a good overview for everyone on what a lot of these features do in GitBook. I also want to once again just share the link inside of here. Head to this link if you're curious on seeing everything that we built. If you remember before, it was just a white website with some text on it, and I think it looks a lot better now. So you can see kind of how just some small tweaks can make your own docs look a lot better. So make sure you head to the customization settings and check out how you can customize your own docs to your own brand. But yeah, thank you all again for joining. Hopefully this was useful. Thank you, Zeno, as well, for the awesome deep dive and the blog posts. Again, make sure you head to our blog, our changelog, to see everything that's new. And last but not least, just a few things. This session will be recorded, and we'll be uploading this to our YouTube channel as well. If you haven't followed us on YouTube yet, you can follow us on YouTube if you just search GitBook. We're also on X, formerly known as Twitter, so make sure you follow us there as well, because we know it's a lot of updates and changes there. And other than that, let us know in our community what you'd like to see next time, because we love doing webinars, and I'm sure we'll do another one on whatever you'd like to see. So we'll see you at the next one. Thanks, everyone.